Assalamu alaikum everyone. Once again, welcome in another online session here. And this session will cover the email writing etiquettes and how to write email and how can we execute our day-to-day professional writing activities in our workplace. So this is what we'll be dealing in today's discussion. So today's video will be divided into two parts because long videos are usually not uploaded either on LMS or YouTube channels, and it is difficult for you people as students to extract these videos. So here we'll be talking about email writing etiquettes in two parts. Starting with email. Emails, why it's important to know the etiquettes of writing email. The reason being, when we start writing emails, of course, it reflects our personality. And at times, you represent your organization, and when you send an email to your client, and if it has some issues in terms of any sort of issues, of course, the image of the company, the organization is damaged. And on the other hand, within the company, your image, your self-esteem is damaged. Therefore, it is very important to know the etiquettes of writing email. And that is something we need to talk about in today's discussion and in this online session. Moving forward down the line, there are a few tips that we need to take care before writing our emails, and that is the usually email is divided into different parts. We have header where we write to, from, and then of course subject line and the rest of the details. We'll talk about it later on. Now we are moving toward the body where we write salutation, then the message, and then the signing off words where you log off from your email writing. So they say that when you, for instance, there are different ways. At times, we know the person we are sending an email, and at times we don't know the person we are sending an email, and at times we are frank with the person who we are sending email. So there are three situations given here that you can follow my cursor. That if dear Mr. James or dear Professor Smith, for someone you do not know well, especially if they are a superior. So this is the salutation that you need to come up with if you do not know the person and if the person is superior than you in any situation, right? And the second case is where you have a working relationship with someone else. This is the appropriate salutation that you can come up with. And of course, that if you know the person well and you have at times, a sort of frank relationship with the person, of course, we come up with this salutation here. Being in here in Pakistani culture, we usually avoid using this, the third one, usually. The reason being that in our culture, it is discouraged to use hi, hello, or such words. The reason being they feel a bit offended because then people try to be, close to the person. And this is something. But of course, these three ways are there. If you know the person, if you do not know the person, if you are frank with the person, maybe if you are sending an email to your friend, so the third option could be better fit here. An example has been solved on the right hand side, which is a bad example of writing this particular salutation. Moving further down the line, the second tip for writing an email is to be concise. If you make your writing more wordy, it will not give you any reward at the end of the day. And if you make your writing too much concise, where less information has been provided and the email becomes vague, that is also not acceptable, that you can see on the right hand side. I mean, it is too short that the information is difficult to be digested by the readers. And on the left hand side, you can see that at times it is concise, but the relevant information, the needed information has been transferred and both are in peace. Look at the third example here. This is more prolonged. The same email has been written here with more detailed version where all the details have been written in the email of the body, which were not required. And that's the reason that it became unscannable email. Unscannable email are those email which is difficult for the readers to scan through the information. At times, reader look for some particular information, and if they do not find that information in the email, of course, they skip the email. We need to make our writing more scannable, rather more wordy, which is difficult for the reader, for the audience to understand, perceive, and comprehend. So making their life easy, we need to make it concise. They say that give as much information as needed, and at times they say that be specific. Of course, this is one of the part where we have already talked about the correction part in the 7 C's, where you need to be more cautious about spelling, but the grammar, about the punctuation marks. There's a myth, by the way. People say that what should we add after dear or dear sir or respected sir in the email writing? There are two school of thoughts given. At times people say put comma, and there's another school of thought which suggests that put colon. Both are correct. You can go ahead with both. And of course, you already know about the capitals. Never use caps in your email writing until and unless it is needed. If you make a word caps, right? If you write a word in caps, that is acceptable. Maybe you're giving stress on the word, but writing a complete email in caps will give an impression to the reader that you're shouting on the person, or you are giving an impression, or you're trying to be a bossy, you're trying to be superior, and you're trying to yell on the person, and that is completely non-professional in at workplace. So be cautious about being capital. Then moving further down the line, tip number 5, where we take care with the abbreviations and the emoticons. And of course, academic writing, professional writing, formal writing, they encourage not being used such emoticons in the writing. Try to use words, as much words as needed, rather using these emoticons until and unless this is a personal email sending to someone else. Professional emails and emails, I mean, subject to the business, of course, you need to stick to the subject and try to use or express things in words rather the sign language. And the most important part where we consider as the subject line. And when we say the subject line is considered as the top notch or the theme of your email, where everything is understood by just going through your subject line. So it should be crystal clear, and it should be as concrete, as complete, as concise as it could be. It should have all these attributes in your subject line. And you can see here the bad subject lines here. And there's another point that you need to remember about a subject, writing subject, that right subject should start with the action words. For instance, if you are saying that application for lease, I would say that this is something, a vague subject line. Rather, applying for leaves, it would be more appropriate. The reason being, it is an action word that you have started with. Now look at these examples here, that the subject line example, and of course, on the other hand, the vague one and the specific one. So meeting, more vague, more general. You need to make it more specific. And once you go through these examples, you will better understand which one is vague, which one is more specific, and how we can make our subject line concise, concrete, and complete, right? So this is something we can do, and always start your subject line with the action word. And of course, you would have some questions about it, and we'll talk about it in our online discussions. Moving further down the line, I mean, when you start writing email is not something that you decorate or renovate, or you add some colors in it, or you make your font style more stylish so that you want to make an impression on the readers. No, they say that try to make it simple. You need to use simple font style. Do not use any color, rather using underlining these things and highlighting things with different colors. It will make your email rather less readable, right? It would be less scannable. So what we can do is that you can either divide your body or the message into different paragraphs either, or you can write it in different bullet points or numbers, rather underlining and then shading down things or phrases or statements or sentences or lines rather. So this gives a bad impression on the readers maybe, or on the audience. So you need to make it very very professional, right? It should be sober, it should be, delicate, it should be at times audacious. A bold look should be given in through your email. So you these italics and bold and using some different colors, they are strongly prohibited and discouraged. Now, giving your signature is something very important. At times, different organizations or corporate sector, they give their universal signature, right? It is built in there in the emails. And however, if you have to make your own, you need to make it sober. You need to make it very concise, where only the needed information is provided, so that the client or whosoever receives your email, he or she does not get bothered with your signature, because at times signatures are extremely long and everything is given in the signature that is not needed. Only your name, designation, the company name maybe, and the contact details. That is more than enough. See, these are the bad email signatures given. See, people would be, lost in your signature maybe, right? So do not use such signature. Just a simple signature that could be readable or scannable for the readers. All right, this was since the first part of our this email etiquette discussion and online lecture, and the second part will be shared in another video. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.